Hi, good afternoon. I jokingly said earlier this week as we were meeting together that the next 15 minutes will probably be one of the most low-tech aspects of this webinar series. But from a practical standpoint, these are the things that we are showing and sharing with our teachers and administrators across our network here in Texas. And from a rural perspective, like Dr. Alexander said, there are a lot of questions and concerns. And so we're just going to go through some examples that we've been sharing and have really resonated with our educators and seeing the potential of how this could be used in the classroom. First of all, I'll say that there's a lot of fear, just like we discussed earlier in this presentation, but we've been using AI type presentation or platforms for a while for things like personalized learning and tutoring support. And so there's the fear that is there could be alleviated a little bit by realizing, hey, we're already engaged with some of these platforms. So like personalized learning, your Dreambox Learning is an example of one of many type programs. It's an adaptive K-8 math program that is used in a lot of schools that provides that customized learning experience for students. And so teachers are able to differentiate in the classroom easier than years past. And so students are following their own individual path on that learning process. And so that's a good example that's already in place in a lot of our schools. Tutoring systems and tutoring support. Amira is a great example of a reading tutorial program where students literally read verbally to the platform, and the platform records and provides personalized reports back to the teacher as far as the student's ability. And so you think the years of running records and teachers sitting individually with students, that the time capacity that would be expanded using these type of platforms could be very beneficial. And again, everything I'm saying is not to replace the human interaction with teachers, but to really give a lot of support and time building capacity. And then there's things like how do we take data and in large sets and analyze that. So we always talk about data-driven instruction and adjusting instruction based off of our data information. And I'm going to be popping in and out of this presentation really just to show examples of how this is being used. And I'm going to be using OpenAI as I move back and forth as a tool. It's a free tool. I'm going to be using the 3.5 version that's free to all folks. And so just as an example of something that we've been engaged in with one of our districts most recently, we've had a rural district that has asked for us to help guide some stakeholder conversations with SWOT analysis and then creating their mission and their vision and core values for the districts. And so this was all generated from face-to-face focus group conversations. So that was a lot of human interaction. And then we compiled it into one document. And so here I'm going to open ChatGTP. All jokes aside, this has been something that we've actually demonstrated for folks is how do I even get to AI? What is that? I don't even know how to get to it. And so there's a lot of options, but openai.com, you create an account and sign up for that. I already have that account. And so when you sign up for the account, you have access to this, and this is what the platform looks like. Because I pay for an account, I have this GPT-4 option, but GPT 3.5 is the free version. And so just as an example of how this interacts, I am going to do some typing, and then as I move later into the presentation, I have some pre-typed prompts, so you won't have to suffer through my typing ability. But if I am asking ChatGTP to review this information and share 3 themes from the data that would impact a mission and vision for a rural school district. So that's the prompt. Sometimes creating the prompts are the most challenging things with ChatGTP. And so here you can see that I've typed that in. I pasted actually the data from that collection of information that we had. And here is the response that's coming from OpenAI. And so based on the provided data, here's 3 themes: community engagement, communication and collaboration, and addressing challenges and disparities. And so what if I wanted to take this now and say, what would be a potential vision statement for this district? And so here would be a vision statement that would spit out. We all know vision statements need to be future focused and memorable. And so there, it's asking me just, here it is, empowering rural minds, expanding boundless futures. And so if I liked that as a potential vision statement that I could share back out with the stakeholders, this might be one of many. I can always regenerate the response. But what if I wanted to have a mission statement that was aligned to that as well? And so here would be a mission statement that we might consider. So this has been an ongoing process with our school districts that we've been supporting with this work. We've had 4 meetings where we've been discussing and we've been crafting these mission and vision statements with stakeholders. If we wanted to bring some ideas back to the table as opposed to some of that collaborative processes just from a time's sake, then this would be a tool that we could use to do that. So that is just an example of the power of what could be done. And then you can see from my actual prompt design, it's very much so a conversation between myself and the tool. And I do a lot of conversational type conversation. Early on, I was trying to do more technical prompt designs. And so now, more conversational, but I can craft what I want to say out of that and keep pushing towards the answer that I'm looking for. Some other things that are really time savers for teachers, automated grading processes, designing school schedules. As mentioned earlier, there's tools that can be used to enhance that, but OpenAI can also give some ability to do that, editing documents, generating emails and newsletters, all the things that kind of eat up time but are critical for community engagement and parent engagement. These are all tools that teachers can use. And so I'm going to hop back out of this deck, and I do have some pre-designed questions. So you won't have to watch through my typing ability. And so I am going to get to my my questions, my prompts, and I have a lot. This is a document that I share often and just collect different types of prompts as we come across those to show our faculty and our teachers. But we mentioned lesson planning. And so what would be a 60-minute lesson plan using a 3rd grade Texas version of Eureka Math? That's an instructional resource that's pretty common here in Texas, aligned to a very specific standard, TEKS 3.2. I did find out early on that you need to actually look at the wording of the TEKS. Sometimes OpenAI picks up other things or tends to have an ability to not make up or but it not be accurate in the state standard that you're wanting to align to. So I figured out that the actual standard is important. And in a way that incorporates lead forward strategies, another instructional tool that focuses on student engagement. And so here is the answer to the prompt. It gives all of the think, write, pair, share is your lead forward strategy. It's given the time minutes, it's given the extension activities. But what if the district uses a 5E lesson plan as the format? So you could also do that. If your district has a specific lesson plan template that is expected, you could copy that template and paste into the prompt and say, please review this template. It might give you feedback that you might not necessarily be wanting, but then you could do the exact same type of prompt and say, align it to this template that you reviewed, and it will spit back out the lesson plan accordingly. So what about grading? And you don't want to pay, an extra tool for grading. This is, again, a way that you can navigate through using this free resource. So here I'm going to ask it to design a rubric for, viewpoint American soldier to German soldier on D-Day, and put it on a 100-point scale. And so here it is generating, I have seen it do some of what you're seeing right there. And I'm sure someone more technical would know what is happening with it when it's doing that. You're seeing some of the code that's happening behind it. But when that happens, I typically just ask it to regenerate its response, and it will provide the resources for the rubric. And so this is generating a very text-heavy rubric. And so what I would like to want it to do is to, if I wanted to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to see this in a chart, like a typical rubric. And so here, this is able to do that. And so now I have a rubric that is based off a 100-point scale. It's looking at different things. I could have specified some of those indicators that I wanted it to do, but however, that's the rubric that we're going to use to generate for this grading. And so let's say this is your student essay that is now a student has submitted. Copy and paste. So it's going to generate off of that rubric. And so it's telling me that it's rating it proficient, basic, it's given a score out of 80 of 100. Obviously, you would not want to trust it by itself, but that would be a great example of human interaction of what it would need to do, from that standpoint. These are other examples of prompts that we have used in the past as demonstration. You want to create a chart for cooperative learning. It'll spit back out the chart, but let's say that you're a first grade teacher and you want to have, that on a first grade reading level. It can change anything. You can even ask it to say fun things like, generate this like Mark Twain would be writing it, or generate this like, Shakespeare would write it. And so it's very adaptive and kind of fun in that area, a good way to engage kids. This is one that I found most interesting. We do a lot of crosswalks between our high school courses and our community college partners for dual credit purposes, things that can tend to take a very long time to accurately crosswalk. And so if I want to design a crosswalk or create a crosswalk between a Texas high school program of study and a dual credit courses offered at South Plains College. That's one of our community college partners here in Texas. And so what would normally take quite a bit of time is able to generate a crosswalk here describing the courses, and then aligning it to the high school level. Again, that human interaction is critical there, but it gives you a very good starting point to be able to intervene. We've used it to generate behavior improvement plans, IEP goals to help with social studies, to help with special populations. But I wanted to get into just a couple of kind of case study examples of some of the things that we've been able to do that would take a lot of time, both from our level at Collegiate Education as the network support, and then as a district level. And so one of the things that we do, and we want to support all of our schools to do, is age-appropriate research. Starts in 3rd grade, goes all the way through high school, but we want that to be data-driven. And so this is a report that I have out of a data set from a school, and it's their 5th grade science scores. And so if I wanted to basically design a research study based off of the data that is copied, or that I have just copied from the report, the STAR report coming out of the district, I could just simply say, analyze that data that now has been, that it's reviewing. And so it's processing that, but I want to be able to ask it to recommend standards that I should focus on to improve my 5th grade science instruction. And so I put it in backwards. I want it to analyze the data set, that I put the data set in first, and then I ask it to analyze it. And so I'll see if it'll do better this way. So there, that's a good example of that prompt design that you have to be aware of and not have a fear of interacting with it. And so this is giving some standards. But let's say that we want to design this agricultural research project based in Roscoe, Texas. That's one of where our rural locations where our districts are located. And so I want to have an agricultural research project that is aligned for 3rd grade class, directly related to Roscoe, Texas, that would help improve scores related to this test data. And so it will pull resources that from different areas and be able to generate that research project typically a lot faster than what we're seeing here. So I'm going to ask it to regenerate that response. I have seen when there seems to be a lot of traffic on the OpenAI, that it does do what we're seeing now. It is a little shaky with a little time delay. But here it is.
Rachel, I thought that only happens during webinars.
Maybe that's it. But here it is, you're seeing this. Now we could, for time's sake, I won't go into this, but we could take this now and divide it into a cadence between August to say February. It will break that up. I can ask it for supply lists related to each of those. I can ask it for rubrics like you've already seen me demonstrate. And then instead of spending hours of looking at data, trying to figure out a research project, putting all of that on a school calendar, literally in 10 minutes or so, you can have a foundation for the teachers to use to build on. And so that's a very practical way that we have been using this to support our districts. And then another very practical way, another case study type example in Hamlin, one of our other districts, they have been using, been developing a PBIS program for their elementary campus, and they want to have expectations for their hallway, their bathroom, their classroom aligned to their Piper mascot. And so this is something that in years past would take a lot of brain power, collaboration, people disagreeing, wordsmithing. And so this again just gives you a great foundation so that you are sitting there for maybe 2 hours trying to hash through what would this look like. And so here in literally whatever that was, 15 seconds, OpenAI has spit back out, okay, these are hallway expectations that are aligned to the acronym of Piper, which is that school's mascot. And so the PBIS committee could take that and move forward with it and be able to be more productive and more intentional in their conversations rather than having that, hour and a half of time just getting to the point where they would be with this as a foundation for the start. So those are the practical uses some of the practical uses that we've found, probably hundreds. I could stay here and talk about this all day and use these examples, but those are just some of the more practical ways that we have been sharing with our rural school districts, things to do with OpenAI free resource. And so those trying to alleviate some of the fear, but just as was indicated earlier, you cannot take the human aspect out of this. It is just a tool, just like anything else that we have in the classroom, and it needs to be used responsibly.